Down screen. Go. Coming at you. Skip. Down screen. Here we go. Skip it. Get going! Flowers again. Flowers again.
Clippers on Saturday, but that all went away when Kyrie Irving left the game near the end of the half with a sprained right knee. The Clippers won by 11 points, and Boston was booed off the court by their fans. This follows the Celtics losing an 18-point lead to the Lakers in the previous game. The Celtics are currently the 5th seed in the East. Marcus Morris said after their most recent loss, quote, "When I look at us, I see a bunch of individuals. It hasn't been fun for a long time." Some interesting words there. Greg, what do you think the biggest problem with the Celtics is?
Biggest problem with the Boston Celtics is Kyrie Irving.
Wow.
Kyrie Irving. And this is not a shot at Kyrie Irving.
What is it?
Sounded like it. Sounded like it.
You say it's not a shot.
It's not a shot at Kyrie Irving because statistically he's having an unbelievable year individually. But when you look at the Boston Celtics, you look at how they're made up, their DNA, their makeup. Brad Stevens is the biggest asset that they have. Although Kyrie Irving is as electrifying, as exciting, as stellar as he is on the court, he takes away from what everybody else does. He doesn't complement everybody else. When you look at their success last year with Kyrie Irving off the court, the ball popped, it moved around, they went through one another. There was no animosity. I shouldn't even say it because I don't believe that there's animosity, but there wasn't any individual play. There wasn't any ISO ball so often. Every blue moon you might see Jason Tatum take a guy one-on-one and get a couple buckets. But for the most part, the ball moved around the arc, through guys cutting through the lanes, Brad Stevens drawing up some fantastic sidelines and baseline out-of-bound plays to get them easy buckets. It's not coming as easy as they once did last year. And when you look at everybody else's statistically, they're down, with the exception of Marcus Morris, the one who said it. He's up. He's trending up statistically. So everybody's numbers have had to decrease because of Gordon Hayward obviously coming back, trying to find his way. He's not even himself, a shell of himself. And I think that with him getting better, we'll see what they look like. But right now, Kyrie Irving is the odd man out. It looks great because of what he provides offensively. And from a fan's perspective, he's exciting to watch. He has everything that you want in a player. But for the Boston Celtics, they are the New England Patriots of the National Basketball Association. They have their coach in line, fundamentally sound, concrete. Everybody else can be role players.
That is such a stretch, please. All right, look,
that's not a stretch at all.
It is a stretch. They haven't won Jack, and
did they make the playoffs without Kyrie Irving last year?
Half the league makes the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Except for the Lakers.
Exactly.
All right, Greg, look, you obviously made good points about the style of play with Kyrie versus without Kyrie and all that. But in his presence, him returning from injury has created some of these issues. However, here's why he's not the problem, and he's really a big part of the answer, is that without Kyrie, they can make the playoffs without him. They can even go fairly deep, but they can't have a hope or a prayer of winning a championship. And now that the East has improved with Milwaukee getting so much better, Philadelphia now being stacked, Toronto getting better with Kawhi Leonard, they can't even reach the finals without Kyrie Irving. All right, and that's why Danny Ainge, even with all the hints, Kyrie kind of backing off saying, I'm planning to stay here. Even with all that, Danny Ainge is still all in on keeping Kyrie. And he's also all in on going after Anthony Davis. Why? Because he understands Kyrie Irving is a superstar. And while we could be good, really good kind of, without Kyrie, we can't be great without Kyrie. And obviously in Boston, it's about being great and winning championships. Danny Ainge knows every one of those 17 championships they have, they had a superstar leading the way. Danny Ainge knows that in the entire history of the NBA, only twice, 2004, the Detroit Pistons,
one of the greatest teams of all time.
1979, Seattle Supersonics. Those are the only two championship teams in NBA history who weren't led by a superstar. So he knows, look, I get it. The chemistry's a little shaky. Guys are in their feelings. But Kyrie Irving has to be here to stay because if we want to win again, it's with him. Now, quickly to your point, you're right about the players. Jason Tatum, in the playoffs without Kyrie last year, 18 points.
Hey, what's up, my friend Calicanai here. And in a moment, I'm going to step into my office here at my home and pull out my computer and show you exactly, how it is that I went from barely scraping by working in a coffee shop.
This year, 16 points a game. Jaylen Brown, in the playoffs without Kyrie, 18 points. This year, 13, less than 13 points. He was shooting 15 shots a game. Now he's at 11. He was getting 32 minutes. Now he's at 26. Terry Rozier, this is the biggest drop.
Yes.
16.5 points without Kyrie in the playoffs. 9 this year. 14 field goal attempts. 8 now. 36 minutes. 23 now. So you're right. That's where Marcus Morris is saying we're individuals. We're not having fun. I get it. If I was Terry Rozier, I wouldn't be having fun either. And he and Kyrie, I think, are friends. But he's dropped 13 minutes a night. He's not getting the shots, and the same with the other two. So that's the problem in Boston. But
Assists, shooting 47% from 3 and 53% from the field overall. So I don't know how you could play any better. And when you, of course, lose 2 star players in Hayward and Kyrie, yes, there were no expectations. Hey, just play. Just go out there. It's much easier to play with that. But if you're talking about trying to win a championship, you gotta have the big guys. He just told you. You will not. Danny Ainge is not dumb. He understands. You won't win. You won't sniff a championship. Last year, oh, look at this team. Unbelievable. Missed 27 three-pointers in Game 7 at home against the Cavaliers. Why? The moment got too big for them. Kyrie's won a championship. He's averaged 30 points against the Warriors in the finals. He's the guy you need in those moments. So he's not the issue. It's about those younger guys trying to fit in and understand Kyrie's the main guy. We got to get what we can get and play with them, not looking at just because their numbers went down. Are you winning or not? And that's really what it's about. It's not about just your numbers. So I don't think Kyrie's the issue here. I believe it's just the other guys have to learn.
And so with all of that, I'm not saying Kyrie isn't a special player, and they don't.
You said he was the problem.
He is the problem.
He isn't the problem.
Because
And it's two different
I
things.
think the question for you, Greg, is this. Okay, because we both kind of admitted, look, his presence
Changes
created
things.
these issues.
Yes.
But if you're Danny Ainge and you had to get rid of some of those role players who, maybe will be better in the future, or Kyrie, which one you looking at getting rid of?
It depends on what you're trying to do.
It doesn't depend.
Well, you're trying to win a championship.
You're trying to win. I'm with you there. You need a guy like Kyrie on your team, on your roster. But for this team, I got a better question for you guys. How do you think Brad Stevens feel?
Well, I'm glad you brought him up. Okay, Brad Stevens, Rob and I have talked about it a lot. This is a test for him.
It is.
Because if you look at his pedigree, to play Division III basketball, I think started coaching at that level, goes to Butler. You're not getting the superstars at Butler. You're getting 2-star, 3-star recruits. So he's the little engine that could coach. Even when he got to Boston, you didn't have any superstars when he got there. He turns Isaiah Thomas, who had been, a sixth man, into this MVP candidate last year. No expectations, no superstars, and we go far. Now, in the NBA, that's nice. That's a good coach. But can you handle superstars? Can you handle egos? Can you bring the locker room together when you've got 1, 2, 3 stars and then everybody else? And that's the challenge. And we're seeing if he's up to it.
How did Brad Stevens always lose in college? To teams with better players.
Right.
So you can bring those young guys along, but always he gets derailed at the end, because the other coach has a star player and you don't. It's the same thing in the NBA. You can't win with those young guys without having a star.
I disagree. I completely disagree with what the Boston Celtics showed me last year. They are an effective team and can go deep into the playoffs. And you guys say
Not in this Eastern Conference.
But that's not the goal either. I agree. They can be a good team.
It's not the goal. But you give Brad Stevens 2 years. I'm not saying eliminate Kyrie from the equation right now. I'm not saying that. But if they want to get better, they are going to have to either find a way to play with Kyrie, his style and his way, and forego kind of what Brad Stevens says, because when you have a superstar anytime you have a player that can make plays on his own, he's going to go anti-social versus what the coach is going to tell them to do every single time. He's not going to always be on cue and in harmony and in unison with what the coach wants because he's an off-script guy. He can do it when the coach.
The Ford F-150 grabs the toughest jobs by the horns with best-in-class tone.
Wants it, he can do it without the coach telling him to go get it. And that's what Kyrie Irving brings. That's what these other guys weren't accustomed to. In the playoffs, they got accustomed to, look, guys, let's just run the play. Let's run through one another. Let's support. Let's build each other up. Let's make each other better. Now we're standing here and we're kind of watching Kyrie do his thing. And if he's ready to give us an opportunity, we better.
What happened to the safety measures? What happened to all these guys with concussions?
That doesn't exist in this new first weekend, evidently.
On to the Celtics now. It was not a great weekend for them. They blew a 28-point lead Saturday to the Clippers, causing their fans to boo them off the court. To make matters worse, Kyrie Irving left the game with a knee injury. He's listed as day-to-day. It seems like the Celtics' success is as well. Marcus Morris did not sugarcoat the issue.
It's not fun, man. Like, it's not fun. We're not competing at a high level. You know, even though we're winning, it's still not. It's not fun. You know, I don't see the joy in the game. I watch all these other teams during the league, guys up on the bench, they jumping on the court, they doing all this stuff that just look like they enjoying. You know, their teammates' success, they're enjoying everything, and they're playing together, and they're playing to win. And when I look at us, I just see a bunch of individuals. We got to play to win. That's sacrificing playing hard, that's sacrificing, you know, being a better teammate, that's sacrificing whatever it is. You know, we have to put it to the side. No one's getting traded. Trade deadline's over. We're competing for a championship, and that's how we got to approach these games. We're going to lose or draw, man. We're going to lose games, but we don't have no attitude. We don't have no toughness. We ain't having fun. You know, it's going to be a long season.
Marcus Morris insinuating something needs to change down the stretch. What do you think it is if the Celtics are going to make the playoffs?
Well, there was a number of people, as far as Brad Stevens, that had a tremendous amount of confidence in Brad Stevens as one of the elite coaches. I believe he's a very, very good coach, but I think that only time will tell if you're an elite coach. How much can you vary how you're going to play based on your talent? Can you win when you're less talented, which they did last year, which for Brad, that to me, that's what he normally did. That's what he did at Butler. When he didn't have 5-star recruits, he had a bunch of 2-star, 3-star guys. They played a great system. That's what got them to national prominence in college basketball. Last year, and how they do things, their out-of-bounds plays, their dead ball, timeout, what happens in those things, and how they play defense. We gave Brad Stevens a lot of credit. I never said he was one of the best coaches, but I knew he was a good coach. Playing with a talented roster, what would he do? That was the question I had last year. What were you doing when Gordon Hayward comes back and Kyrie Irving comes back? And now we're starting to see it. This team is not gelling. We saw Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum thrive last season during the playoffs. Now we have Kyrie back, taking over the team. Gordon Hayward back, only a shell of himself. We don't see the team thriving because what they have not done is they're not going to sacrifice for their other teammates. That's why guys would come to work and not be happy. When you're not happy, it's not about shooting percentage. I need to work on my free throw. Man, we're not playing good defense. It's no. What they're telling me to do, I don't feel like is best for my game. Jaylen Brown, you can see it in him. Tatum, you can see it in his game. Kyrie, it's always been in his game. If you know Kyrie, you know the stories there. Him and Ty Lue, what they went through, what LeBron went through. Kyrie is about dribbling the basketball. He's the best dribbler of the basketball ever, and trying to take that away from him is not something someone's going to be able to do. So how they're going to play offensively, last year, Kyrie was out of the lineup. Kyrie's their worst defender. So now with him in the lineup, they're not. Their help defense is not necessarily the same. So guys aren't happy with their roles on the team. That's what makes coming to work not pleasant. And as a defensive team, this team is not sacrificing for their teammates trying to be elite on the defensive end.
And it's very difficult to ask guys at this point in their career to take a lesser role than they expect or they think they've earned. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier haven't been paid yet. They haven't been all-stars yet. They haven't established themselves yet. They thought, especially the first two, were trending towards that, and then you asked them to take a back seat. One of the guys you asked them to take a back seat for in Gordon Hayward is a guy, we're 55 games in. They're all better than Gordon Hayward right now. That's got to be frustrating. The fact, from a coaching standpoint, these young guys are frustrated and complaining, but the biggest issue with Brown and Tatum, they're both down 7% in three-point percentage from last year. Last year, Jaylen Brown was 39% from three. That's excellent. Now he's 32%. Last year, Tatum was 43% from three, one of the best in the league. Now he's 37%. So, their game has regressed somewhat. They're not happy with their role, and this is why that loss this weekend was so bad. They're up 28 the moment Kyrie hurts his knee. Now, thankfully for them, he's going to be okay. But if there was ever a moment for the young guys to try to say, see, look, we got this, you blow a 28-point lead in the final 30 minutes of the basketball game, or 28 minutes of the basketball game, the moment Kyrie goes out. Any push and pull Kyrie has had with, guys, you need to listen to me, you need to follow me, it got further established when the team had a 40-point turnaround in the negative direction the moment he goes out of the basketball game.
Now, it's easy to blame it on all the other things. To me, young players, a lot of times, they think 1 + 1 = 2. Oh, we played well last year. We played well in the playoffs. In year number 2, you know what I'm getting ready to do? I'm getting ready to give the league. I'm getting ready to handle the league. It doesn't always work out that way. And you can't blame that on the other players. Sometimes these younger players, that second year, third year, they don't grow as much as they thought because they thought the league was easier. They thought they had it figured out. So some of the problems that they have are in these young players because they're getting the minutes. It's not like Kyrie is shading their face when they're shooting. Right. So we can blame it on those other things, but these younger players, regardless, I know this offseason, I know they were committed. They said they came back in better shape. Their game was in better shape, but it doesn't always equate to the numbers. Being a professional athlete is very, very hard, and these young players are starting to see in year number 2, there's a lot more to the game that I have to figure out that I thought I had figured out in year number 1.
Is there something to the fact that, look, last year when Kyrie went out, the team figured out how to play without him, changed up their game a little bit into more Brad Stevens system type of basketball and not really Kyrie going out there and doing his thing and everyone else were supporting cast members, and they flourished and they did pretty well. Is there something to the fact that maybe the young players aren't all growing when he's out on the court?
Listen, Kyrie, to his credit, after a really horrific start to the season, first 2 weeks, he's playing the best basketball of his career.
He is.
He couldn't be an All-NBA member. This year he's averaging a career high in assists. What he's been doing over the last 6 weeks has been
It's definitely his best basketball as a Celtic.
And I think you can argue this is going to end up at the end of the year be his best year of his career, start to finish. We'll see how the numbers look out, and we'll see how, because he has such a bigger responsibility now than in the years they were good in Cleveland when LeBron took on the lion's share of the load. But the other thing, listen, you are, at this point in the season, unless you have had a major injury to a key member of your team that changed it, you are about what your record says you are. And the Celtics all year long have been 4th or 5th in the Eastern Conference. And when we talk about how great they were last year, there's one way to look at it, 1 game away from the NBA Finals. Another way is 1 game away from being bounced in the first round. Like the 3 games against Philly that went down to the wire. Losing to up 3-2 against the Cavs with Kevin Love out and losing both those games, including one on your home court. They have not figured out how all these puzzle pieces fit together. And even though Kyrie and Al Horford, I think, have done what is expected of them, the other pieces, and Marcus Morris having a career year, all the advanced numbers say they should be better than they are. But their win-loss record, 56 games in, says they're an above-average team. And that's what they are, an above-average team right now.
Last year they figured out, though, how to all play together, didn't they, after Kyrie went down?
But they had been all... I think it's easier to figure it out when you're just saying, hey, guys, you were getting 18 minutes, now you're getting 22 minutes. I think the reverse is what's more difficult.
I think the surprise that they're not better, because both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they can do more things. They can dribble better. I guarantee you in their workouts, they can shoot better. I guarantee they can go other places on the court that they're more comfortable. But it's not transferring over to the game. I'm just not going to blame Kyrie. All right, they're just not having a great year. If Kyrie was not having a great year, then I could see, okay, well, let's blame him. I believe that the system that Brad is trying to run, when we have talented players, there's less freelancing in that system. And these guys have not thrived unless it's a structured system, which they had last year during the playoffs.
All right, we'll take a break. Switch gears a little, talk some football. Does Dak Prescott deserve to be paid more than Tom Brady? That's next up, First Things First.
1,000 people get paid more than Tom Brady.
This is the big dog, the Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, pal. It is the bar.
Duke, Virginia, and Zion. What? Incredible. Takes off from so far away to block a three-point shot into the crowd.
I mean, he is at the midpoint of the lane when the Virginia player catches this basketball. I know it's a slow gather and a bad pass. I get all of that. But Zion might be the only human being alive that can block this shot, given where it was caught.
Pass and make your choice.
Good job with that shock troop to turn the game around.
Richardson with 11. He's the leading scorer, but only 17.4 a game, but he's off to a terrific start. Warriors 2 of 9 from 3.
Clay Thompson from iron. Able to find the range.
Those are the shots he's got to make for him. He's out there.
It's Raiders. 3 seconds left. Shoots the three for the win. Ball game's over. Warriors hold on and defeat the Heat in a thrilling game. 120 to 118. One triple away from a season high and a spectacular win. That's a close Miami game. 37 for Richardson, a career high with a career best 8 triples. 24 for Dion Waiters, his season high. 22 points for Justice Winslow, one of his stronger offensive games of the season. But Kevin Durant saved the day for the Warriors. He scored 39. Draymond Green had 14 assists. Klay Thompson with 29 points. Curry with 25. And DeMarcus Cousins, who only scored 7, made the game-winning free throws with a score tied at 118. Stepped to the line with 5.4 seconds left, and Conley made both. So the Warriors win it. They get their 40th win of the season. They go to 40 and 15, and the Heat fall to 25 and 29. They're 4 games under for the first time since mid-December. That is a jersey exchange to remember. 2 of the game's all-time great players, and 2 of the game's all. Hey everybody, this is Geno Green. Follow me on Twitter, @DGenoGreen. Here's a video highlights of Dwayne Wade's press conference.
I'm sure the memories are flooding back to you over the last couple of days. What are some of the things that you find your mind going back to from your days at Marquette?
Just coming up here and thinking about this day and, thinking about 19 years ago, I walked on campus, in 2000, just a shy kid from Chicago that has some talent in basketball. And, coming here just really opened me up, being able to, I was talking to my wife on the way here, and I was telling her that I took drama class in college, I took public speaking, and I took all these things to help me, to communicate better, to be able to talk in front of a large group of people. And I was planning for this moment, in 2000. So I knew in 2000 I'd be sitting up here. But just so many memories, so many moments. Obviously, a lot of them from a basketball standpoint, and what we was able to accomplish as a team in my 2 years on the court, the success we had. So just a lot of memories. Yeah. Obviously, in my 3 years on campus, my 2 years playing basketball, so many. We created so many memories. And just sitting down yesterday, Robert Jackson, who was one of my best friends, me and him just sat last night at dinner with my wife, and we were just talking about some of our Marquette moments with Coach Green and how tough it was to build this university back to respect the basketball sense, and how tough it was, coming from the inner city of Milwaukee, inner city of Chicago, and coming in here and trying to fit in, as well. So it's tough to say the one thing that stands out. Obviously, going to the Final Four was big. It was something that this is what dreams are made of. Our whole dream coming in was one day to be playing in the Final Four, and I got to do that with a great group of guys. And that was special. That run was special. It was special for the city of Milwaukee. It was special for this university and for each individual, each one of our coaches. A lot of people got promotions, jobs, raises. Even at Final Four, I got a big raise. It was just a special time. So I think the things that you miss most, and the things that stick out to you most, is probably the things that most people don't see, because it's the interaction that goes on in the locker room. Where it's Travis Diener and me rooming on the road, and I wake up and I got 9 pillows on my head because I guess I was snoring. Before I wake up, he's sleeping in the tub because I was snoring so bad. Like, these are all the things that I laugh about, and I remember as we preparing to play the tournament, he's sleeping in the tub the night before the game because he's trying to get away from my snoring. Those kind of moments, that sticks out to me. It's some funny and cool things that we share.
Talking about this morning, you ever stop to think how unusual it is for an athlete to be beloved in both Chicago and Milwaukee?
Never stopped to talk about that before. Is no one else? You got anybody else to compare it to?
The only other name that came up was Jay Cutler, and that was
Okay, well, blazing my own trail there. So it worked out for me, but just speaking about Chicago, it was great. Last night was special for me. It was great, to be able to get that love, man. I grew up in that city. I grew up. It's crazy. It's just hard to put into words. How you can, like I said last night, you have a basketball, you have a dream, and then I blink my eye and 37 years old, and I'm about to retire from the game, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, I've made a big impact on this game, like players have made before me in my life, and I'm able to play on this stage. I'm able to play at Chicago Bulls Arena, and all these things. I was just a kid watching TV, clamming to the TV to see the Bulls play. I got an opportunity to go to one of their games when I was a kid, and I was so high up, but I got an opportunity to see them run out on the court, and all these things. So, these memories, flash back. Being here today is be the same thing, just memories flashing back to you. It's went so fast, but along this journey, it's been dope. It's been special. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been hard. It's been perfect. So I've appreciated, just this journey, that basketball, where it's taken me, where it's going to continue to take me.